Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline Moriarty. I'm a certified student attorney at the University of Minnesota Tax Clinic, and today I'm talking about worker misclassification. So we'll first start by defining both an employee and an independent contractor. So first, an employee is someone whose manner and methods of work is controlled by someone else. So if you can't tell from that definition, it's pretty broad. And so the IRS uses kind of three different types of factors to determine if someone is an employee. So first, they'll use behavioral control, they'll use financial control, and the relationship between the parties. So for an example, the classic employee could be an art teacher. So the training or instructions for how the work is done for behavioral control would be all by the school. The school tells them when to teach, what class to teach, how long to teach. For financial control, the art teacher is paid by the school, gets supplies from the school, and the art teacher can incur profits and losses on what they do at work. Finally, the relationship with the parties. The school and the art teacher would probably have an employment contract for maybe a year or more, have a benefits like sick leave, vacation, or a pension, and the worker, the art teacher, is teaching students, which is the regular business of a school. So the implications of being an employee is that you get a W-2 at the end of the tax year that shows all the withholdings that the employer has done from their side and from your side. So each paycheck, you withhold part of your payment as tax to be paid at the end of the year. This means you don't have to pay taxes on a quarterly basis. And that is one of the defining characteristics of an employee. On the other hand, if you're not an employee, you're an independent contractor, could also be self-employed, same sort of thing for tax purposes. So how this is defined by the IRS is income from any trade or business carried on by such individual or the taxpayer. So in contrast to an art teacher, this could be an artist on Etsy. So you go once again through the factors. So behavioral control, the artist on Etsy gets to control what they sell on Etsy, how much they sell on Etsy, how often they work to make Etsy part of their business. The financial controls, there's no one person that pays her. It could be anybody on Etsy pays them differing amounts, and they don't get any benefits from Etsy, and they can incur profits or losses on their own. And then finally, the relationship, there is no employment contract between the artist and Etsy, and the regular business of Etsy is just to sell anything, while the artist themselves wants to make money from their art. So the implications of being an independent contractor for tax purposes are that you're paying self-employment tax, which is the equivalent of both the employee and the employer's side of tax. So that would be on the Schedule SE. It also means you can get a business income deduction, and then you have to tell the IRS the profits or loss you've made from that business in a year. And so because you're paying both the employer and the employee side of the tax, it's usually the situation you're going to see more likely is that the employer is classifying all their employees as independent contractors, so they don't have to pay their share of employment taxes. So when you talk about worker misclassification, it would usually be the employer has a group of people that they all say are independent contractors, but in reality, they're employees. So if you think you're misclassified as an independent contractor, tell the IRS. Telling the IRS kind of works in two different ways. First, there's the SS8 form. So this is kind of a whole pretty thorough process that notifies the IRS that you want them to make a determination on your employment status. So what's going to happen is the form kind of goes through those same three factors again. You pretty much tell them everything about your work and provides supplementing documentation. And then the IRS will also contact that employer that you list, and then they'll finally send you a letter with their determination. At the same time, you'd also want to file the Form 8919, which calculates the Social Security and Medicare, the employment taxes that you would pay as an employee. And then you pay those, and then what about all the self-employment tax you paid? You need to amend the prior tax returns, any tax returns that you said you were an independent contract on, to get a refund of the self-employment tax. And it is a law that to get that refund, it has to be done within 3 years of when the original return was filed, or within 2 years after the tax was paid. So this kind of creates some timing issues. The SS8 will take a good amount of time. The IRS is also going to go contact that employment firm, which will take a long time. And then by the time you get that letter, you might run out of that time to amend your returns. So what you can also do is amend those returns before you get the SS8 determination, and then note to the IRS on the form, on the amended tax return form, that you're waiting on a determination, which basically holds your spot in line for the timing issues. I would also just say very generally that because if you ever have a client, or if you're someone who's been misclassified, the IRS will contact your employer, which may change your relationship with that employer, because if they're misclassifying one person, they might be misclassifying a lot of people. And so that's just something to note before you start this process. Kind of sounds like a lot. And so this is where the U of M Tax Clinic can help. So specifically for worker misclassification, we would help you amend your previous tax returns. We'd also help you complete that request for determination, the form SS8, including any necessary supporting documents that you would need, then help you recalculate your employee taxes, and then finally represent you in any interactions with the IRS. And so that might mean that we're talking to an IRS agent or some sort of appeals officer, but it also could just be, we also get your letters and we help you explain what those letters mean and what we should do next. And if there's any deadlines you should be worried about. And so we'd really recommend that you reach out to us either at 612-625-5515 or at lawclinic@umn.edu. If you have other legal issues, we help with really any tax issues after you file a return for federal income tax. We help with audit reconsideration, innocent spouse requests, if you owe tax to the IRS and you can't pay, different collection options, and then any litigation if necessary. So I thank you for your time and thank you for watching.